What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Face Mask Fantasy live stream. And I'm waiting on this delay. I am hoping that these random tech issues are hopefully resolved. I had a couple problems last week where my video wasn't showing up properly, and I sounded like a robot the past couple of streams. So bear with me for just a second while I confirm if that's working the way it's supposed to or not. Let's see. Just gotta get through these ads. This has been a painful process that I'm hopefully trying to get through, so bear with me here. Cool. Think we are all I think we're all squared away. I think everything's working the way it's supposed to. Hopefully. It's about time. It is about time I got this figured out. So, with that being said, hope everybody's had a good week so far. We have the schedule released tonight. Super exciting. Um, Happy to do another rookie draft. I have that staged and prepped, ready to go. If anybody wants to join that, we can absolutely fire one of those guys off. Um, Otherwise, can dive into a little bit about the schedule. Uh, Briefly for me, how it pertains to fantasy, where it matters. Um, not that you can, not that you can ever draft your teams. This is more redraft and best ball than it is dynasty. You can never build your teams just solely based on the schedule, or reach too far down on players based on matchups and the like. But if you're presented with an opportunity, I think there are some ways you could take advantage of the schedule. Again, just redraft and best ball. You can never worry about dynasty as it pertains to the schedule. You're just trying to build the best team in a vacuum that you possibly can. Schedules be damned, right? So, a couple of brief talking points on that. Nothing too nuts. And then, of course, if anybody wants to wants to get a draft kicked off, we can do that as well. Some of the matchups this year that have been so far announced. Um, the Chiefs, obviously the defending Super Bowl champs, will play host to the Detroit Lions for opening night. I think that's the 7th, Thursday, September 7th. So the league probably right away, not probably right away, is buying into the Detroit Lions. They wouldn't put them on for the opening game if it wasn't a big draw, if it wasn't an intriguing draw. So good for the Lions. This has got to be the first time that they are the opening night game, the primetime game ever. It's got to be ever. At least as far back as since they started doing this on Thursdays, where they opened the season on Thursdays. The Lions have never been in this game before, so the league is certainly buying into the hype that they're going to be a good team this year. And probably, not even possibly, probably threaten for the NFC North, for the division. There's so much in flux in the NFC North right now. Obviously, you have the Packers looking to the future with Aaron Rodgers moving on to the Jets. The Vikings have a lot of questions to answer specifically on defense, as far as, are they going to be able to get back to back-to-back division champs. And then the Bears remain an interesting up-and-comer with Justin Fields in his third season. You obviously hope that he takes that next step. But there's question marks all over their roster as far as can they win enough games in 2023. So, yeah, I mean, the league's all on board with the Detroit Lions. They get about as tough of a matchup right out the chute, having to go to Arrowhead and play Patrick Mahomes at home. That's a game that traditionally the home team does well in, the defending Super Bowl champion, getting the opportunity to start the season at home, kick the season off for the league itself. Generally speaking, that team, the home team, the Super Bowl winner, they do well. They do well in that matchup. So, tough spot for the Detroit Lions, but what better way for them to kick things off as far as showcasing what we expect from them this year than in the opening game against the biggest Super Bowl favorite that there is and that there will be year in, year out as long as Mahomes is the quarterback. So, good spot for Detroit. I know there's a couple other primetime matchups known for week one. I believe the Giants are going to host the Cowboys week one. The Patriots are going to host the Eagles week one in the when they honor Tom Brady, whether he's a member of the Dolphins or not, remains to be seen, or some other NFL team that he decides to come out of retirement for, because that's certainly a possibility. So those are some big matchups that we already know. I believe, speaking of the Giants, as far as them hosting the Cowboys week one, I believe their entire schedule has already been made aware or has been made known. It is, yeah. So the Giants get some primetime matchups this year. They get a couple of Monday night games, week 4 at home against the Seahawks, week 14 at home against the Packers. They'll play the Eagles on Christmas. That game is in Philly. Should be a good one. The Thanksgiving games are known, or at least the early ones. I don't know if we know the night game yet for Thanksgiving, but Detroit is expected to host Green Bay, and then Dallas is expected to host Washington. Those matchups are pretty par for the course when it comes to Thanksgiving. Division rivals. The Packers have been on there a lot. The Commanders have been on there a lot. Washington has played Dallas on Thanksgiving a significant amount. I mean, you're talking about historic division rivals. So what better way to showcase them than on Thanksgiving? I haven't seen anything about the night game yet, so not sure there. But you already know that that's going to happen. There will be a night game on Thanksgiving because there has been for about 10 years now, I would guess. Since they've incorporated that into the Thanksgiving rotation. Chiefs will play the Raiders on Christmas. Eagles will host the Giants on Christmas. The Chiefs will host the Raiders. I think that's the night game. The Eagles is the 4:30 slot, so the afternoon slot. So there will be an early game there as well. I'm not sure if that one got confirmed yet, but we're getting even more clarity on the schedule as far as the big matchups. And then, of course, there's the Super Bowl rematch, Week 11. I think it's Monday Night Football. The Chiefs will host the Eagles at Arrowhead, so that should be a fun one. Week 11. Excuse me. Could be some fireworks as the Eagles look to maybe get some revenge on the Chiefs, possibly. Anytime you go into Arrowhead, you have to automatically assume that Mahomes, as a favorite, should be able to handle his business. But we'll see. A lot of emotions potentially playing in that game. So with the NFL schedule, as it continues to come out, on top of finding out when your teams are playing at home, or maybe your favorite team, maybe you live in a different place and you're looking for potential road trips. That's always the fun part, right? Of course, identifying which teams have which bye weeks, especially for fantasy purposes. So what type of overlap are you dealing with your team this year when you find out the bye weeks? All of these things come into play. When it comes to putting together, I would say definitively a best ball roster, something that's fun to do, that has been proven to work if you can get it to work, is to try to identify matchups late in the season. Most specifically, of course, championship week, right? In best ball, you obviously have no control over what happens over the course of the 17-game fantasy season. But if you know that you can identify some matchups, some big-time matchups. For example, the Chiefs and the Bengals are expected to play Week 17. I don't know if that game is in Arrowhead or in Cincinnati. I haven't seen that yet. But if you're able to stack. It's not just stacking players. There's two different forms of stacking. There's stacking a quarterback and one, if not more, of his wide receivers so that you can double up on points. But a stack also includes, when it comes to the schedule, especially in best ball, being able to identify high-powered offenses that play each other week 17 or in the fantasy playoffs in general, or the knockout rounds for best ball, so weeks 15, 16, and then, of course, championship week 17. The idea of being able to take advantage of those correlations is it's not just doubling up on points with your quarterback and a wide receiver. It's being able to find, so if I'm able to get Travis Kelce in the first round of my draft, I might target T. Higgins in the third round of that best ball draft. The idea being these players on these teams in these matchups in week 17 can influence the volume that these players are going to get. In high-octane, high-scoring potential affairs, your chances of those players putting up a lot of points, putting up a lot of stats while going up against each other is higher. And when you have those players on your teams, that maximizes your ceiling at the most opportune time. Now, of course, you have to put your team has to be in a position to be playing in those games, and therefore you need to build an optimal roster to actually get you there in the first place. But if you can build a team that gets you to week 17 in best ball, and let's say you got a bunch of Chiefs and Bengals, they play each other week 17. That's going to be a huge boost for your teams, for your best ball teams, for your opportunity to come away with a legitimate prize if you've got teams playing each other in the fantasy playoffs, going against each other. That in and of itself is a stack. It's a different definition of a stack, but it's a stack nonetheless. Let's say you're able to get Kelce and Mahomes in the third round, and you can come back around and get T. Higgins in the third round, because you're not going to get Jamar Chase because Kelce was your first-round pick. That is a different form of a stack. You get the Mahomes-Kelce stack every single week, but then week 17, you're able to it's like a tag-along of sorts where you get to attach T. Higgins to that. If you have a best ball tournament finalist team in week 17, that's going to be a difference maker for you. And then further down the list, Joe Mixon is like a 6th or 7th round pick in best ball this year. That could pan out for you. Maybe you grab Marquez Valdes-Scantling at the end of your draft, and maybe you get Tyler Boyd 90 to 100 picks into a draft. You grab all those Chiefs-Bengals players. Your team is strong enough in other places to get you through to the championship round in best ball. All of a sudden, you've got good pieces in a game where you expect a lot of offense during championship week. So this is where the schedule can kind of come into play a little bit, where you can kind of take advantage of it, at least as it pertains to best ball. Sort of in redraft as well. Obviously in Dynasty, again, you can't really play that game in Dynasty. Your team is your team year over year. Your players are your players. You're only just, you're trading based on, whether you're not trading based on week 17 stacks. It's based on contenders versus pretenders. What pieces do I need to complete my roster if I am in fact a contender? All of those things. Dynasty, this isn't really a play. It could be year over year, but then that's a little bit more of a short-sighted approach. So you're potentially playing with a little bit of fire there. This more pertains to redraft and more specifically best ball, where it's just this year and that's it. And with best ball, you have no control over your roster once the season gets started. This is where the schedule comes into play. This is where it matters. And now tonight, once we get that information, you can kind of attack that moving forward in any best ball drafts that you join. Look for the players that are playing each other in week 17 in high-octane matchups where you expect a lot of offense, a lot of scoring. We know Chiefs-Bengals is going to be played week 17. Keep an eye out on other week 17 matchups. Which high-octane offenses can you identify that are going to play each other? Like, are the Eagles and Bills going to play each other week 17? Things like that. Those are things that you can kind of identify for a best ball season that can kind of put you over the edge. something to think about. That's the significance of this, of tonight as it pertains to redraft and as it pertains to best ball. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of division matchups that week. There's going to, the end of the season is when division opponents square off, more likely. This is when that part of the schedule where those get loaded up on, right? They're gonna happen in the beginning of the season, of course, but week 17, week 16, you're gonna see a lot of division matchups. So if you end up with AJ Brown at the end of your draft, at the end of the first round in your best ball draft, hopefully CeeDee Lamb is there for you at the second, or Saquon Barkley, depending on the Giants and the Eagles play week 16. Now they play week 18, so that's a throwaway week as it pertains to redraft and best ball, but they play each other week 16. That could be a matchup where Saquon is heavily involved, AJ Brown is heavily involved, the teams are going back and forth. Both of those teams are directly benefiting from the production of having play each other. That helps you advance potentially to week 17. So on top of high-octane offenses that play each other late in the season, look for the division matchups, right? If I end up with A.J. Brown in the late first, in the 110, 111 area, I'm going to hope I can get CeeDee Lamb at the top of the second, or Saquon Barkley. This is I don't know if I would call it 3D chess, but this is the type of strategy that you can try to take advantage of after tonight. So that's the significance of tonight, of the schedule release as it pertains to fantasy. Obviously, there's way more reasons to get excited about the schedule. You get to find out when your team is playing at home. If you live where your team plays, all right, who are the big matchups I'm going to see and when? Or maybe, it's probably even more exciting, which road trips can I take advantage of this year? Where's my team going to play on the road? And what road trip can I make happen? What city have I never been to before and I get to watch my team play, go get tickets for that game? So that's the NFL level of this, of the excitement of tonight. But there are fantasy implications here too, and I'm happy to talk shop on that a little bit more. I'm happy to elaborate on it a little bit more if anybody has questions about it, or if you have questions about these week-to-week best ball correlations as it pertains to the schedule. There's some different levels of strategy that you can take in best ball once you know the schedule. Again, we'll find that out tonight, and that's a fun little wrinkle that you can throw in building your best ball teams. Which division opponents are playing week 16, week 17? Which high-octane offenses are playing week 15, week 16, week 17? That might be the difference between a best ball tournament team that you have advancing or not. So don't just build quarterback wide receiver stacks. Go look at week 15. Go look at week 16. Go look at week 17. Obviously tonight, after the schedule gets released. Identify those matchups. Identify those high-octane matchups where you expect a lot of scoring. And then in your best ball drafts, do some slow ones. If it's, then that allows you to take a step back and think about, go down the board. Okay, I know that the Eagles and the Giants are playing week 16. Let me grab A.J. Brown at the end of the first round. Let me grab Saquon Barkley at the top of the second round. That means I'm sacrificing the Hurts to A.J. Brown stack. But further down the line, pick apart those ancillary pieces. Can I get DeAndre Swift in the 6th round? Can I get Rashad Penny in the 9th or 10th round? Can I get one of the, if I punt on tight, can I get Darren Waller in the 7th round? These are the little tidbits of the schedule where you can take advantage of it for fantasy purposes. So that's the fun thing with tonight, right? That's the fun thing from a fantasy perspective tonight that you can kind of start taking a look at, that you can kind of start researching, something that'll help you. More so in best ball. If it works out in redraft, that would also be spectacular. But this is more along the lines of rosters where you have no control over once we hit kickoff on Thursday, September 7th. So best ball. So little strategy nugget for you. I'm happy to talk through this a little bit more if anybody wants to. And then, of course, this is an open forum for questions. If anybody's got anything you want to talk about, whether it's the rookies, obviously we're now a couple weeks removed from the draft. If anybody hasn't done their rookie draft yet, I've got one lined up here. We can get this started. I see Alex has joined it. Alex, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming in. If anybody else wants to hop in, we can knock this out. So I'll let this sit for a little while, maybe get a couple more people to join if anybody's interested, and we can get that thing fired off. Let me grab the link to this video. I'm going to share this in our Discord, just in case anybody's around, maybe happened to miss the notification, but wants to come in and hang out. Get this to the folks over here. All right. See what happens. See what happens in there. So I wanted to make sure I talked a little bit about how the schedule release can impact your decisions from a fantasy football perspective. And then, of course, if anybody wants to do the mock, we can make that happen. Some other schedule notes, here we go. The Bills and the Chargers will be a Saturday afternoon game, Week 16. So see, this is what I'm talking about, right? This is according to Albert Breer. The Bills and the Chargers will play each other Week 16. Two high-octane offenses. So if you get Stephon Diggs at the 108, the 107, 108, 109, grab Austin Eckler in the second round if you can, or you can stack it with Josh Allen. At that point, you're not going to want Justin Herbert, most likely, because that's a lot of capital committed to quarterbacks early. But let's just say you build the Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen stack, first and second round. Grab Mike Williams in the fourth round. Grab James Cook in the eighth round. If you punt on tight end, grab Gerald Everett way down the board. Or better yet, if you get Stephon Diggs and Austin Eckler, first round, second round, target Justin Herbert. You might have to go up a little, one extra round to get him, but this is the correlation that I'm talking about, where this could be a real difference maker for you in your best ball leagues. These late week stacks, I think that you can call them stacks. It's not just stack for the purpose of what I'm talking about here, as it pertains to the schedule. Stacks are not limited to just attaching a quarterback to his top wide receiver or maybe his second and third wide receivers. Identify these matchups late in the season with a chance for a lot of firepower and grab guys from both teams over the course of your best ball draft. If you end up in these rounds in the tournament, it will make a difference for you. So there you go. Bills, Chargers, Week 16. That should be a great game late in the season. Lots of fireworks, lots of offensive firepower. Chiefs, Bengals, Week 17, even better if you can. Those are obviously it's going to be harder to corral a bunch of players from those teams, right? You're talking about two of those guys are first-round picks in Jamar Chase and Travis Kelce. Another two of them could be argued to go in the second round in Patrick Mahomes. T. Higgins is around that 2-3 turn. Joe Burrow in best ball is a late third, early fourth round pick, maybe a little bit more of a fourth round pick. So these are high capital players that you have to invest in. You'd be lucky to end up with three of those guys. You should be happy with two of them, but that doesn't mean that you can't complete correlation stacks throughout the draft. Tyler Boyd is a value pick that you can have later. Joe Mixon, Isaiah Pacheco, these are guys that you can have as value picks, 60, 70 picks into the draft. There are ways where you can work around this. And then again, Bills, Chargers. That's going to be exclusively on Peacock? Okay. The game will not be on NBC. It will be on Peacock. This is according to Albert Breer. All right. So on top of getting a Prime subscription for your Thursday night games, make sure to make sure to sign up for Peacock so you can get a really exciting Week 16 game between the Bills and the Chargers. Is that a home game for the Bills? It looks like it might be. So there's some potential for cold weather in that game, but there's going to be cold weather in that Bengals-Chiefs game no matter where it's played. So you're not worried about a little bit of cold weather or some snow for that one. So keep an eye on it. Week 15, Week 16, Week 17, and then almost work your way backwards, right? It's like a pitcher learning how to pitch for the first time. They start in the stretch and they work their way back from the windup. Do the same thing with your best ball teams. Start by looking at Week 15, Week 16, Week 17 matchups and work your way backward. Go from there. This is a strategy you can utilize, especially in best ball, to optimize your chances of while they're still going to be minuscule, they're going to be minimal, but that's going to be minimal. It's going to be the same for anybody. But to get a legitimate payout, like something with some legitimate substance to it in these best ball tournaments, specifically on Underdog Fantasy. I think it's a sound strategy because, again, you can't manage your best ball teams in season. So you might as well operate like, yeah, I'm going to be in the playoffs. Or in the tournaments, I'm going to be in the knockout rounds. Just operate like you're going to be advancing. You're going to build a team that's going to advance. Build it from the back out, from the end of the schedule back. So week 15, week 16, week 17, when we know all of the high octane matchups tonight, identify the players in those games and go from there. That is my free best ball advice for you guys with, in honor of the schedule release tonight, an exciting night for NFL fans. Obviously, there's plenty of them throughout the offseason. We had the most exciting weekend just a couple weeks ago with the NFL draft, but this is a good one too for fantasy purposes. An underrated one, I would say. One that probably your league mates or your best ball friends, not all of them are thinking this way. Not all of them are looking at right at week 15, week 16, week 17. There's going to be plenty of people who are saying, that's too, you're thinking too far out. You're looking way too far out. Nah. Look at those high octane matchups where you expect lots of scoring, where you would expect the point totals to be high late in the year. A slow mock? I could do a slow mock. House. How do I... here we go. Couple hours. Could do a few hours. Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. Because we only have a couple people in here now. Again, if anybody wants to join a mock draft, a rookie mock draft, I've got it up now. The link is pinned in the chat. If it is a little quiet in here for now, yeah, I can just make it a slow mock, and people can join the from either here or in the Discord, whatever works for you guys. If you guys wanna do a mock draft, a rookie mock. And speaking of the rookies, started pumping out a couple of post-draft rookie profiles on the channel. You can be on the lookout for a couple more of those. We'll be releasing a couple more of those this weekend, and then of course into next week as we move through the off season, as we get closer to I guess the mandatory mini camps, the team mini camps, whenever those happen in June. Obviously, we've got rookie mini camps going on right now. Plenty of rookies are signing their rookie contracts. I know Bijan signed today. I think he got 4 years, $20 million. So those little tidbits will continue to trickle in. You, of course, want to keep an eye on those. You want to make sure those rookies get brought into camp, or they get these deals dealt with underway sooner rather than later, and there's no random holdouts. That's not a thing as much anymore, just because of the rookie wage scale. It's like there's not really a whole lot of negotiating these rookies can do. But good to see guys sooner rather than later take care of these contracts and get themselves in the building, in the facility, so that they can start working out and working with the team. There we go. I keep getting hit with ads in this stream. Okay. Still only a couple of people in the rookie mock. Maybe you guys have had your rookie drafts already. I don't know if there's anybody who hasn't kicked off a rookie mock yet. If you haven't, we can talk shop there. If you still have yet to make any rookie picks yet, if you're staring down a situation where you're not sure what to use your picks on or what players to use your picks on, we can, of course, talk about that. The draft should ideally help mitigate some of those questions if we want to actually kick this thing off. It's okay if we don't today or if we in this specific time slot, but we will always happy to talk shop on the rookies if anybody needs some guidance in the event that you haven't had your rookie draft yet. Yeah, I can make this a slow. I could update this to a slow draft, and people can join as they're available. If this is something that maybe doesn't materialize today, and that's okay. That's okay. Johnny, what's going on? See, question about Mingo. Jonathan Mingo. That's it. That is. Was he a second round pick to Carolina? They took him relatively high. Let's pull up his little 39th overall. I was like, I know that they took him high. Did they make him a second round pick? Yeah, it was a top of the second round pick. The recent track record from Ole Miss is good, right? DK Metcalf, AJ Brown. We'll see if Elijah Moore can get himself back on track now that he's in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson. The recent track record has been strong. The competition that Mingo has for targets in that offense are DJ Chark, who is a journeyman, Adam Thielen, who is, 33 years old at this point and showed some real signs of decline last year. They also signed Hayden Hurst at tight end. There's another wide receiver I feel like they have that I'm blanking on. It's not Robbie Anderson. Well, now he's chosen Anderson. He signed with who did he sign with? I'm blanking on who Robbie Chosen Anderson signed with. He's not in Carolina anymore. That's that. Or he was traded to Arizona after or during the season, but he's not in either of those places now. Either way, his target competition, Mingo's, is Chark, Thielen, Hayden Hurst. I guess you could throw Miles Sanders in there, even though it's apples to oranges, comparing running back targets to wide receiver targets. And DJ Moore is gone, right? Part of the trade to allow the Panthers to move up to number 1 overall to select Bryce Young. There's a ton of vacated targets in this offense from DJ Moore alone. And Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, I guess maybe they combined to soak up half of those targets. Maybe a little bit more. This is a thin receiving core in Carolina. There is not a lot for Bryce Young to be working with in year one. Mingo's got an awesome opportunity. Huge opportunity to make an impact right away, right out the gate. When you're made a day 2 pick and 39th overall, You're only talking 7 or 8 spots removed from being a first-round pick. That should indicate that, by all accounts, should indicate the Panthers have a clear plan for him to get him involved, to utilize him as much as they possibly can. They're going to put as much on his plate that he can handle early because he's the future of this wide receiver core. Not Chark, not Thielen, not Hayden Hurst. Mingo represents the future of what Bryce Young is going to be working with in this offense. They're going to want to get him factored in as soon as they possibly can. Get him as much experience, much game time under him, get his sea legs under him in the NFL. They're going to want to get him ready to go quickly, as fast as possible. In Dynasty rookie drafts, he's a high second-round pick. I don't know if I would quite go up into the first round. There's plenty of talent available in the first round of Dynasty rookie drafts where maybe maybe Mingo doesn't quite make the cut, but he should be a top 15 pick in Dynasty, whether it's Superflex or 1 QB. He should be a top 15 pick. I mean, he's got this in a draft full of receivers that are on the smaller side. Mingo has the prototypical size. He's 6'2". He's like 225 pounds. He's gonna be a guy that they can put on the outside. Chark maybe is their, deep threat on the other side, and maybe Thielen works in the slot a little bit more as he's getting up there in age. It's not inconceivable that they put Mingo as their X receiver on day one. And that's probably not going to get reflected in their depth chart now, today. But we don't play games until September. Who cares if he's listed third on the depth chart? He's not going to stay there for very long. Not when you're taking 39th overall, and the rest of the receiving room is as razor thin as it is for the Panthers. It's a great opportunity for Jonathan Mingo. We'll be sure to profile him individually. I also got a request to do Chris Rodriguez, the running back for who's now a member of the Washington Commanders. So if there's any one specific rookie that you guys were looking to get a little bit more information on, a little bit more of a deep dive, we're happy to get that set up. So you can just let us know, whether it's me or whether it's Will. And Will's working at the moment, so he wasn't able to join me for this stream. We might start streaming a little bit later in the evening so that he can join to accommodate his work schedule. We might start pushing those back. I know it's 6 Eastern, but it has historically been 6 Eastern. We might start pushing those back so that he's able to join. So it might be a little bit more late night streams coming your way if anybody's able to join. But I can also keep this earlier slot for those who can't. So just wanted to throw that little plug out there so that you guys are aware. There could be some streams coming later. Hopefully that doesn't impact too many people, but we want to make sure that we get Will in these streams as much as we can. We'll do that moving forward, where the streams are maybe a little bit on the little bit on the later side, but he can be there for them. So that's the goal. So you got him, Johnny, at the 109. I mean, look, as it turns out, the 2023 class, this time last year, we were counting the 2023 class as if there were going to be can't-miss prospects all up and down the first round. I don't think that's come to fruition. The end of the first round, after the top 6, it's honestly a crapshoot. And I mean, I guess you could throw the top 8 in there as well. If you want to throw in Addison and Quentin Johnston as guys, it's like, well, I'll take that guy at 7 or that guy at 8 because, and Zay Flowers. So maybe through the first 9 picks, I guess. But the only guys I would say I would definitively take over Mingo, at least as far as the wide receivers go, are Smith and Jigba, and I'll throw Zay Flowers in there too. I've really warmed up to Flowers and his skill set, and I'm not worried about the landing spot because the Baltimore changed offensive coordinators this year. They're going to throw the ball more than they have in recent years. Outside of that, Quentin Johnston has his questions and Jordan Addison has his questions. So if you want to take Mingo over those guys, that's fine. I'm not upset. It's a little bit of a, some might call it a little bit of a reach because he wasn't a first round pick and those guys were. And so sometimes it feels easier to just kind of chase the draft capital because through the nature of the beast, those guys are going to be the ones that get the most opportunities. They're going to have the longest leash in the league, first round picks. Even if they don't pan out for the original team that drafted them, other teams will take a chance on the talent. But after that, it's a crapshoot. Like you can argue Kendre Miller can go higher than he otherwise ever would have over guys like Zach Charbonnet. You can obviously argue Dalton Kincaid needs to be a first round pick at this point. In Superflex, you might as well take Will Levis in the first round. I wouldn't take Hendon Hooker in the first round in Superflex. But basically from picks like 108 on, it's dealer's choice. The back half of the first round this year is not, I repeat, is not littered with can't miss prospects the way it was billed to be just this time a year ago. There's a lot of unknowns. Hell, you can argue Devon Achane. His landing spot is more ideal than Zach Charbonnet. His upside, maybe not this year, but moving forward, is higher than Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet's behind Ken Walker. I think it's fair to say we're all probably in the same boat. He's the consensus third most talented player at the running back position in this class. But what does that backfield look like with Kenneth Walker? And just earlier today, Pete Carroll was singing the praises of the 7th round pick that they took. What was that guy's name? Mitchell? McIntosh. I knew it was an M. Yeah, Kenny McIntosh. That's right. Like, they're super excited about him. So, and that could just be coach talk, and maybe that's nothing to actually pay attention to, or it shouldn't be. I mean, you have to give all your work to Walker and Charbonnet if you're Seattle. But I mean, Charbonnet's got another young stud in front of him in Walker. Achane has a couple of older guys who have had injury issues in the past, in Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. So you can argue Achane should go 109, 110, 111, 112. Maybe more like top second round in Superflex leagues. The quarterbacks are going to push him down. It is a crapshoot at the end of the first round. If there's a guy that you have just decided that you've identified that you like, yeah, just take him. I don't have a problem with that. No, that's fine. I don't, I would still take Flowers over him. I would take Smith and Jigba over him. I think Addison has the potential to have a really strong year this year just because his opportunity is appears to be something that's going to happen sooner than later. Adam Thielen is gone. KJ Osborne is a depth wide receiver for the Vikings. Addison should start for them right away. I don't know that any of the other rookie wide receivers that were taken high have a clearer path to being a starter than Jordan Addison does. So you could easily see him outperforming a lot of his classmates this year just because of his opportunity. But this is Dynasty. We're playing for years, not just this year. If you believe in the talent, if you believe in Mingo, if you think he's going to leapfrog Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston, then yeah. As far as what he amounts to and his ceiling and what his future looks like, okay. Now, Quentin Johnston is, of course, attached to the best quarterback here, right? He gets to catch passes from Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen is probably is on the other side of 30, and Mike Williams is not quite there yet. I think he's 28. He'll be 29 this year. He's battled injuries himself. Johnston should have a good opportunity sooner rather than later, but it might not be this year. And then you've got Dalton Kincaid. I'm fine with Mingo there. You got Zach Charbonnet. I'm fine with taking a chance on Mingo there. It comes down to like these couple guys, Devon Achane and Kendre Miller, and what you believe their future is. Because it's not inconceivable that both of those guys take over, I don't know if it's lead backfield duties, especially a guy on the smaller side like Achane, but next year, when Raheem Mostert is 32 and Jeff Wilson is 28 or 29, and they've each logged another season with wear and tear. Meanwhile, in New Orleans, Alvin Kamara is, starts his steady decline if it hasn't started already. Also dealing with the legal issues. Jamal Williams, kind of the same deal. I mean, anymore with running backs, they get chewed up and spit out by the time they're 28 years old, so... How old's Jamal Williams? Sleeper will tell me. Yeah, he's already 28. So, I mean, you're talking about these running backs. They're getting closer and closer to 30. Meanwhile, Kendre Miller is just getting started. You could argue those running backs. Especially for teams more short-term looking to win now. Miller's only 20. Oof. He is young. There's not a lot of wear and tear on those tires. So that would pretty much be it. So yeah. If you've identified Mingo as a guy that you like, you want to take him late first, go for it. Go for it. Yeah, so I'm fine with him. We can definitely get a profile out on him. We'll get a profile out on Mingo, on Rodriguez. That's been requested. So if anybody else has any other rookies where it's just like, I want to hear about this guy. I want to get extended information on this guy. I want to get some background on this guy. We're happy to talk shop on those guys. You can send us a message, whether it's in Discord or on any videos that we pump out. It's like, hey, I'd like to see a breakdown on this guy. We're happy to do that. Just let us know. Oh, you got Miller too? Nice. Yeah, I'm excited about Miller. I'd probably put him as my RB3 officially now, behind obviously Bijan and Gibbs. Obviously, Charbonnet has the draft capital, but he doesn't have the landing spot. Miller does. Miller does. I mean, Kamara's facing a potential suspension to start the year, which means Miller's got a chance to get off to a hot start, get off to a strong start. Jamal Williams is not going to be a bell cow. He hasn't been to this point in his career. It's not going to start now. I know he had a spectacular year last year, an RB1 season because of all the touchdowns he scored. Touchdowns are impossible to chart year over year. They're the most volatile stat year over year, especially when you change teams like Jamal Williams did. Like, New Orleans should be good on offense, but let's call a spade a spade. Detroit's offensive line is better than New Orleans' offensive line. Maybe not by significantly, but it's better. And Williams' competition for work last year was DeAndre Swift, who, once again, was in and out of the lineup with injuries. Now you add Miller, a rookie who doesn't have that wear and tear on his tread. Miller has a chance to be the first and second down back for the Saints relatively quickly, whereas Jamal Williams is the change of pace. He gets his downs right. He gets his series, his drives, so to speak, where he doesn't come off the field, and he's going to get plenty of third down opportunities too as well because Jamal Williams is a good pass catcher at the position, but especially if Kamara gets slapped with at least a 6-game suspension, Miller's going to get potentially the bulk of the carries right away. He should be the new RB3 in Dynasty rookie drafts ahead of Charbonnet. I'd put him over A-Chain as well. I mean, he's 6 foot 220, so he's got 3 or 4 inches on A-Chain. I like A-Chain. I think he's going to be a fun dynamic player to own with big playability. But he's 5'9". He's never going to be a bell cow. Miller has the prototypical size, 6 feet tall, 220. Look for him to be handling first and second down carries sooner rather than later. Yeah, I think he's going to be good. Part of that will be because of the draft capital and therefore the Saints' willingness to give him the rock sooner rather than later. Part of it is going to be it's hard to envision Alvin Kamara suiting up week 1. If he does, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, today in May, it's hard to imagine he suits up week 1, which means Miller's going to get the work. Going to get the work quickly. Just checking to see if there are any other schedule leaks before we kind of start to wind this thing down. I'm not seeing anything else as of right now. Obviously, the schedule's dropping in about an hour, maybe a little less than that, 50 minutes or so. So again, one more time for anybody who's catching it late as we kind of start to wind this thing down. If you play best ball, and you can apply this to redraft as well. Dynasty, not as much, but if you play best ball, once the schedule drops tonight, for NFL purposes, for making plans purposes, personal plans purposes, as far as going to a game or watching a game, yeah, you start at week 1 and work your way forward. For best ball purposes, and a little bit redraft as well, start at week 15, 16, 17, and work your way back. Identify high-octane matchups, high-octane offenses who are going against each other late in the season. Target those guys in your redraft and best ball drafts. The rest will figure itself out over the course of the season. You get a chance to advance in the playoffs in your redraft league or the knockout rounds of best ball tournaments. having players late in the season who play each other in what's expected to be high-scoring affairs, high-scoring games, could be the difference between you coming away with a big cash prize and not. Week 15, Week 16, Week 17. Identify those matchups. Target them throughout your best ball drafts. If you can get to the knockout rounds of those tournaments, it will make a difference. So a fun little 3D chess that you can play in your best ball leagues. All right. I think that'll about do it for me tonight. Obviously, we're kind of back now that the NFL draft is over. We're back in a little bit of the doldrums of the NFL season. Exciting night tonight for you guys to see the schedule. Hope everybody gets a chance to make some plans to go see a game this year, whether it's your home team at home or somebody on the road. You get a chance to take a road trip this year, go somewhere you've never been before. Maybe you get to take in a game where you're neutral on the matchup, but you get to go just as well. Maybe you get to go to one of the international games. That's obviously a bucket list item for me as well. So enjoy the schedule release tonight from that perspective. But Week 15, Week 16, Week 17, go check out those matchups. Take your notes. Find the high-scoring offenses who play each other. Draft players from those teams when they're playing late. Could make a big difference for you at the end of the season. That'll do it for me this evening. Thanks, everybody, for coming in and hanging out tonight. Appreciate you guys, as always. Again, we might be pushing these streams back a little bit moving forward just so that Will can join us. He's on the West Coast with a 9-to-5 job, so he can't join at the moment, but push these back a little bit moving forward, and he can join, and we'll get a double screen going for these streams, and you can get two opinions for the price of one. So we'll look into that. I'll, of course, let everybody know in videos moving forward, or we can make community posts if there are any schedule changes to the live streams. You guys can be on the lookout for that. But that'll do it for me tonight. Enjoy the schedule release. I'm sure there's some exciting things to look forward to as far as plans to be made, and, of course, the fantasy stuff that I alluded to earlier. Everybody enjoy your evening. Everybody have a great weekend. Have fun. Stay safe. You can be on the lookout for some more rookie profiles moving forward. Now that we know their landing spots, we can absolutely take care of that from the perspective of, who they're up against, what type of competition they're up against, and what their prospects look like as soon as this year.